are in America Digital Congress with Christina Hutchinson from Brazil. She's an expert in this disruptive new technology of blockchain and Fintech, and she has been sharing with us some of this new concept that the banking system should be thinking about it, designing about it, and implementing before the competition does it. So, Christina, thank you for coming
It's my pleasure
to Chile and to expose these new technologies that really, even though the people who is developing really don't know how to implement in all other areas beyond what they thought about it at the beginning.
Absolutely, and the same is happening in Brazil. Nowadays, 65% of the banks are investing in blockchain, and they believe in the next 4 years, up to the next 4 years, you will have different products and proof of concept being put in place. And it could be in the payments area, insurance, know your customer. So each bank is exploring where they could take advantage of the benefits of the technology.
Are the bankings using this technology in order to have an edge and a strategy to dominate the market, or are they going together in order to regulate the market and work together providing those services to the people?
Yes, I think the main focus is really to try and I think it comes with the wave that we see in the collaboration between fintechs and the banks are definitely embracing innovation. So I see rather a more collaborative approach, although we see, and you can see both examples, it's twofold. You see each bank developing their own, seeing how they can benefit from the technology from their own internal perspective. But you also have the example as the group created last year by the Banking Association, where all the big banks have come together and are using blockchain to see how they can solve the main issues from the Brazilian industry. They did some proof of concept among some banks, big financial institutions, mostly focused on registry, on know your customer, but that already shows that the industry is trying to build one single collaborative space.
What is your forecast about blockchain inside the banking industry? How far are we to get involved with it and take advantage of it?
I think that definitely from what we've heard in the past years, this change will happen much faster than we expected. So although we know that within the next couple of years, the 4 or 5 years, we'll see all the banks implementing, I do believe that this year is already a pivotal year for the banks as well as next year. So I'm very optimistic that for the next 2 years, we will start seeing products really being implemented and going live.
What kind of key elements or key discussions are you expecting in order to accelerate that process about blockchain? It is about the regulation of it is about the politicians, it is about something else?
Definitely regulation. I just came back from a trip in Brasilia where the central bank is based, and you could see that they're deeply involved in all these discussions. I'm part of a project called Moeda, and we recently had discussions with the central bank on how could that technology promote financial inclusion for small, medium entrepreneurs in Brazil. But that's just one example. So I would say that the first key enabler is first getting the bankings to adjust their traditional model and embrace that culture, which is ongoing, and also the regulators establishing the regulatory framework for such a new market, right?
What is your take on the speculation behind these cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, that now is just a speculation, and we believe that it's going to be a trustworthy system, but at the moment there is such a huge numbers going up and down, such a huge volatility that it is kind of a risk that somehow is affecting the blockchain, which somehow doesn't have anything related to it.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's you touched a very good point. People tend to think that blockchain and Bitcoin are the same thing, and many people still don't understand that Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that was used through blockchain, but you can use blockchain and not know anything about cryptocurrency, right? What I see, and then I can give you a more Brazilian perspective, is that the number of exchanges and the way that the central bank is really trying to establish a legal framework for cryptocurrency will be a milestone. Today, when you discuss cryptocurrencies, it's still related to the instrument that you're trying to work around, use a cryptocurrency for. So if it's a fund, the legislation will be related to the funds. If you're trying to use for international remittances, it's related to the laws for remittances. So the central bank is trying to narrow that down to see if they establish rules, clear rules for the cryptocurrency itself. And I think that's going to be important, very important for the country. And also when you see the number of ICOs, people getting more comfortable. Even Moeda is now getting a lot of buzz and funding through ICOs, and that's just also global, not just Brazil. But the more people get more comfortable with the concept, it's all about knowledge and feeling comfortable, because the process itself seems to be well-rounded. So I'm positive about the transition. And of course, you're still going to have those challenges around Bitcoins being hacked, but that's not different than what you see in any type of concern around cybersecurity. It doesn't have to be around cryptocurrency.
If there will be a real support, like the currency is pegged to the dollar or to a bag of real currencies, then it will help in the discussion, or even if it is something like pegged to gold or something like a physical asset?
I'll give you my view, because I know people have different views, and my view, it will help, because the closer you get to what you already know and establish some parameters that you can combine, what's that money that I have on my digital wallet, I think that's important. But I know people who don't agree with me, but in my view, I think it's important to try to establish some kind of parity between something we know we use. It could be a commodity, as you said, or a dollar exchange to the the coin, right? The Ether or Bitcoin or Moeda, whatever coin you're speaking about.
There is a new Fintech here in Chile for millennials, Ubank, and it is growing very fast. And so, what is your take on it, and what kind of specific millennial banks can take advantage of this technology?
Ubank is a very interesting project. There's a similar one that in Brazil called Nubank. They're both focusing on credit cards and digital credit cards. And first of all, I think one of the key components of success was that they're focusing on the customer experience and trying to reach a market that's completely at the size of unbanked in percentage of the population in Brazil, for example, which is the largest market in Latin America. It's 40%. The interest rates are really high. Chile has more competitive interest rate than Brazil, but nevertheless, these people need access to credit. So the proposal of being able to do everything digital and giving access to credit for those who never had the opportunity, it's fantastic. This is a very good example of how the fintechs in the 21st century are really changing, not just for the millennials, but for the world, right? For everyone who today didn't have the same opportunities that maybe we had, for example.
Christina, you are an advisor at Moeda. Could you tell us what is this project all about?
Moeda, it's combining, it's a lending platform using blockchain, so that's where we are combining blockchain and digital banking together. So we're trying to promote microloans that people, entrepreneurs today don't have access to credit. So on one side you have the bank trying to offer their loans, but they are not sure for whom they can lend their money. And the other side you have people who have good projects, but maybe don't have the credit to develop in a sustainable way their own initiatives. So it's really, instead of top down, waiting for the government to provide you what you need, it's bottom up, right? So we're trying to help this unbanked population, if we may call it that way, to have access to credit, since it's not coming from any macroeconomic policy. So what we're doing, in the bank you have the blockchain with all this transparency and open network would allow the know your customer and a higher level of security from a banking perspective. And once you have established that, you can lend the money. Those borrowers through digital mobile payments with digital identity, which a high level of security, can also reach that lending from the bank. We have a pilot bank already in Brazil working with us to start promoting this business model. So it's definitely a new way of making business. If you think that many people don't even know how to read, especially women, the fact that you can use digital identity, it even helps people who don't even have been the chance of being of reading, or don't know how to read, don't have social education or opportunities. So there's also a benefit from this type of solution.
Besides the banking, or in addition to the banking, the blockchain is very important for the smart contracts and the reputation systems inside. Could you tell us about it?
I think a very good example that you have in Brazil is a company called Original My. They use smart contracts for the, I forgot the word in English, cartórios, notification of credits.
All right,
when
notification.
Yes, so that's a good example where the smart contracts kind of round up and it's kind of replacing the lawyers and legal requirements you need. So I don't want the lawyers to hear me, but yes, that's another way of making business. And then we leave a little bit the payment space. And when you look at insurance, when you look at other markets that also we could disintermediate by providing just the use of blockchain, the smart contracts are excellent.
Thank you for sharing all of these technologies, because somehow we need to translate the difficult technology part to be more human. And I believe that is the most important thing that we are missing here. The leaders who are going to help us do the transition must explain in kind of a human way.
That's it. It's all about people, right? The technology is just one enabler, but at the end of the day, it's all about people. And I think that's the main also change that we see when you discuss the fintechs. That the purpose, it's all focused on improving people's life, right? Us as human beings, how can we have a better quality life and better conditions and better opportunities? So I think that's actually one of the big changes that also the banks will need to adapt, not focusing just on their own banking perspective, but also on the human perspective.
Christina Hutchinson, advisor in Fintech, leading the industry in Brazil, came to the Digital Congress here in Santiago. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you for your time, Octavio. Thank you very much. It's a great congress.